Mary's story is a different one, of course. When you first see this picture, you're probably thinking that this is a demonstration of Mary's attempt to be like her mother. Actually, it's a graphic demonstration of how inattentive her father is when babysitting her. Mary liked to ski, and she still does. Her first ski trip was when she was only 3 years old. It was not our plan to take her skiing at that early an age, but our babysitter backed out at the last minute. So we had to board the plane without a seat for Mary. With the requirement that you had to be 2 or under to sit in someone's lap on a plane, we asked Mary how old she was. She answered correctly, 3. We told her, today you get to be 2. She looked a little puzzled, but responded with 2 when we asked her how old she was. When we got to the ski area, we learned that you had to be 4 years old to take ski lessons. We asked Mary how old she was, and she said 2. We said, well, today you get to be 4. Again, puzzled, she responded with 4 when we asked her age. And, well, sure enough, we had to get on the plane and come back home, and she was 2 again. And then when we got home, we asked her how old she was. She responded, both frustrated and confused, oh, I don't know. We all laughed. Fortunately, we were never asked how old she was, and it just became a big family joke. I took each of my 3 children individually on a father-child ski trip. When it came to Mary's turn in the 5th grade, I found her crying the night before our flight to Colorado. A father seeing his daughter cry is never an easy thing. And when I asked Mary why, I could not help but think of all the horror stories involving children that had been seen so often reported in the evening news. But then she said that she was afraid she was going to burn down the condo. Great, I thought, a pyromaniac. Mary then explained that she did not know how to cook, and she thought that since Denise was not going on the trip with us, she would be expected to do all the cooking, and thus she could accidentally burn down the condo. Mary still likes to cook. As a matter of fact, all 3 of our children are good cooks. I gave each of them a cookbook for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I inscribed in the front cover 46 chapters on how to cook, yet not one chapter entitled How to Eat Your Own Mistakes. I think a similar saying holds true as well as one goes through the chapters of one's own life. You have to first admit your mistakes in order to learn from them. Mary's a very sensitive person, sensitive to the emotions of those around her. She is now employed as a Spanish teacher, working especially with students who are in need of someone sensitive to their emotional needs. In 1991, when Mary was but 8 years old, there was a Steve Martin movie entitled Father of the Bride. The 5 of us went to the movie as a family, and although it was a comedy, I was apparently uncharacteristically quiet both during and after the show. While tucking Mary into bed that very night, she sensed my dis-ease. Daddy, little Mary said, don't worry. The only man I'll ever love is you. Mary met Salvador through the Big Sister, Little Sister program in college. No, Salvador was not a little sister, nor for that was he a big sister. Rather, he was the big brother of Mary's little sister. In light of Mary's statement about her love for me, I had to ask myself, what is it about this guy that makes Mary go back on her word to me? Well, I thought about it a lot. We are about the same height and about the same weight. He does have more hair than I do, but not much. He does speak 2 languages fluently, where I can barely speak 1. Okay, maybe he is more handsome than I am, but I'm certain that Mary can see through that. Then after talking with Salvador on more than one occasion, I figured out what it is that makes Salvador such a very special man. Salvador is the only man I've ever met who loves Mary as much as I do. I have only one piece of advice I give each couple I counsel as they enter into marriage. Remember, marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. There is no exact dividing line on who takes out the garbage or cleans the house, or who does the cooking or washes the dishes, who walks the dog or empties the litter box, who cleans the car, or who bathes the baby. Marriage is not a 50-50 proposition. Rather, it is a 60-60 proposition. Each person needs to be more than willing to do more than their share in order for things to work. There will be times when one of you cannot, for whatever reason, do 50% of what needs to be done. It is then that the other person must do more than their share to get her done. As I approach the end of my speech, I come with some words from Randy Pausch. You may not have heard his name, but you may have heard his story. Randy was the computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, who, in his 40s, with 3 small children, was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Rather than mourn his loss, he instead chose to inspire others, especially his children. He gave a lecture, appropriately entitled The Last Lecture. It was broadcast around the world via the internet. When Denise read his book, an expansion of his last lecture, she announced that this guy had taken so many of his lines from the things she had heard me say over the years. Words once spoken when counseling my patients, my peers, my employees, and my family and friends. They are words that most parents use and hope that their children will remember. But the words I recall most are words chosen by him when he was asked by a columnist what 3 words he would choose his children to remember that he had said. I think we all know what those 3 words would be. I love you, right? Those would be the 3 words that I would at first choose, because I do love my children, and I certainly hope that they already know this, and they too will never forget it. But Randy Pausch said his 3 words would be, tell the truth. And when the frustrated interviewer pressed him further, well then, what other 3 words would you choose? Randy responded, all the time. Tell the truth all the time. What a wonderful world this would be if we could count on being able to believe it's true, all that we are told. Each of us can do our part by doing just that. Tell the truth all the time. Others can then follow your example. And for those of you who are fans of the theater, I bring to you a final quote from one of Denise's favorite Broadway plays, the adaptation of Victor Hugo's Les Miserables. It is Jean Valjean whose final words are, for love is everlasting, and remember the truth that once was spoken. To love another person is to look into the face of God. Now a toast to my wife, to my children and their spouses, to my now 3 grandchildren, to all of our family and friends from across this great country of ours, and especially to the bride and groom, Mary and Salvador. Thank you. Hello.